Hi, this is my fourth blog post for Experience Educational, and the show that I chose to do this week was The Magic School Bus. So just simple definitions of education is tending or intended to educate, inform, or instruct, and then providing general knowledge or information. So for me, for a show to be educational, I typically tend to think of children's shows just because in a lot of children's shows, for example, the one I watched and probably the ones all of you watched, there's a concept of learning in it. So whether it's like numbers, colors, words, certain subjects in school, things like that, I tend to think of children's shows as educational shows. But I also feel that almost any show can be educational in the sense that you can learn how to make something, learn what some things mean, learn just different tools in life, I guess. So for me, for a show to be educational, I feel like the audience can take away more knowledge than they had before watching that show. So the episode that I watched was about the characters doing a play about Jack and the Magic Beanstalk, and one of the characters wanted to be the beanstalk, so Miss Frizzle, which is the teacher, shrunk that character down turned her into a beanstalk, and in order for her to grow, she had to figure out how to make food or get food for herself so that she could grow, and she couldn't figure it out, so Mrs. Frizzle and the rest of the students shrunk down to like the size of a cell basically, and then went inside of a different plant, went through the roots and the stems and the leaves, and kind of try to figure out how plants make their own food. So basically you learn simple things about plants. So you learn that like roots suck up the water and bring it up to the stem, and then they're in the leaves. So in the leaves you learn that there's like chloroplast and how photosynthesis works and stuff like that, but they do it in a super simple way so that kids can understand it. So basically the whole premise of the show in general, but this episode was to educate kids on how plants make food. So I think that this episode was extremely educational based, and that was the whole purpose of the show, of this episode itself. I've always been a fan of the Magic School Bus. Ever since I was little, I watched it in elementary school all the time, so there's really nothing I dislike about the show. Like I said before, I love that they take things that are dealt with in like science classes, mostly science classes, but classes throughout school, and they make it just really easy to understand. So they also use simpler words so that kids can understand. So like they didn't use the word photosynthesis, but they said how like you get energy from the sun to make chemical energy. So just the words that they used were more simple. I also like that it's animated, so that makes it a little more kid-friendly as well. But yeah, I really, really liked this show. I liked this episode in particular because I am in a biology class, so as dumb as this may sound, watching something like this actually makes it easier even for me to understand, because you get it in just a simple way and a really appealing way. Like this little plot behind the whole play about Jack and the Beanstalk actually kind of keeps you like watching it as well, so it's not just educational based, there's an actual story behind it. So like I said, I really liked the show. There was nothing that I disliked. The target audience is, I would guess, typically kids up to about 10 years old or so, because it is so simply like put out there. I don't feel that it would be shown in middle schools or high schools or anything above that. However, like I said, I feel like people of all ages can kind of benefit from it because it is so easy to understand, but I do think that the target audience is for kids that are about up to 10 years old. Some of the production decisions that I feel were made for the specific target audience of these younger kids was the fact that it, like I said, is animated, so it makes it easy to watch, and it's more kid-friendly, like I said. Also, the terminology, it is very simple. I've said the simplicity basically multiple times, but I really feel like that's one of the biggest decisions that Scholastic made when creating this show, is that they're going to use simple terminology and have it be just very fun and appealing, and the show is just super interesting, and it kind of makes you want to be a part of this little classroom that's going on. So yeah, I really enjoyed this program, and I think it's definitely really educational. And if it's still around when I have kids, like if it's on Netflix or whatever, I definitely want to show them the Magic School Bus, just because of how awesome of an educational show it is, but also just how fun of a show it is as well.